welcome back to the Vogue YouTube channel. So we're back again with a different car for this week's episode. So last week you saw us review an Audi SQ7, and now this week we're going to the complete opposite end of the spectrum with something that is in a whole different era. Now you can probably tell just by me sitting in this car right now that it's something old school and it's something that's undoubtedly very cool. Instead of me waffling on, let's show you what we've got. Here she is, and obviously we're going to be taking her out on a little bit of a test drive. So I suppose we should go and take this thing out for a drive, which is obviously the most important and most exciting part. Immediately when you get into this, it literally feels like you have stepped back in time. Like, I feel like I have gone back to the 1990s, even though I was only born in the 1990s. All of a sudden, I just feel like I'm back there. Everything in here is literally the pinnacle of the 90s. You've got lots of leather, you've got lots of wood, and you've got lots and lots of buttons that do lots and lots of different things. You know, like when you used to get in, like, you know, like your granddad's car or something and it smelled a certain way. This smells exactly like it. Obviously, let's cut to the chase of not what it smells like and more about what it's actually like to drive. This thing has got a 3.3 litre straight six under the bonnet. So it's not one of the V8s. Obviously, most people associate the Alpinas with V8s, but this is an earlier model that actually had the straight six. You know, like when you just like go past some glass and it's just one of them cars where you just have to look at the reflection of it. That's one of these cars. If I'm in a cool car, I have to look, and this thing has so much. Oh, it's just so cool that I just had to look. I apologise. 3.3 litre straight six under the bonnet, BMW engine, and it's putting out 180 brake horsepower, which obviously back then, that's a lot. That's that's like a good figure for back in the late 90s. It's got a top speed of about 160 mile an hour, which, same again, that's impressive for back then. I think the 0 to 60 time is about 6 seconds, around about 6 seconds, which for a big heavy, like, because this isn't necessarily like a performance car, it's like a big luxury car almost. So for that to be able to do it in 6 seconds, obviously back then, it's really pretty cool, to be fair. Alpina BMWs, like, what actually are they? So yes, this is a normal BMW, but Alpina are almost like BMW, like one of BMW's partners. They basically take their cars, they have a more like luxurious, a more better performance, a more like top spec, like the ultimate version of one of BMW's cars, and that's exactly what this is. Inside here you have quite possibly got everything that you could have wanted from a car from 24 years ago. Do you know what I mean? I have got cruise control, I have got buttons on the steering wheel which allow me to alter the cruise control, I have got buttons on the steering wheel which allow me to alter the radio. We've got air conditioning, which is icy cold. Like, it's one of those days today where it's like a bit muggy, and oh god, this crisp cold air conditioning is glorious. What else have we got down here? We've got heated seats up at the front. You've got full central lock-in, you've got electric windows all round, not just in the front, you've got them all round. You've got electric mirrors. I've even got down here, which is my favourite bit, that's why I've left it till last, a full Nokia phone. Like, does it get any more 1990s than having a full-on Nokia brick in your armrest? That is so cool. Me personally, like, I'm a sucker for a 90s car. Anything from the 90s, whether it's something as cool and unique as this or whether it's something as absolutely awful as the Fiat Cinquecento that the in-betweeners drove, I will love it regardless. I just love how boxy and just like quirky things were from the 90s, and this thing, is one of those. You get bored, you're sat in traffic because you're cruising around in your big 3.3 litre Alpina BMW, and you get bored, yeah, you've got a Nokia, so you can play Snake. I love how I'm more excited by the fact that I could play Snake on an original Nokia phone than what I am about the actual performance of this car. You can just tell it's like built for luxury. As far as 24 years ago was concerned, you have got everything that you could have in a car. It is fully freaking loaded. These seats are amazing because A, they're super comfortable and like they're literally like sitting in armchairs, and B, you've got like the Alpina badging on them, which is just, I don't know, it's just so classy. Like, I feel like cars nowadays, they don't quite have the same touch. Do you know what I mean? Let's talk about it actually driving. It's really, really, really smooth. Like, really smooth. I was quite surprised when I saw that it puts out 280 brake horsepower, because I think it's that smooth and that just like so cool, calm and collected almost, that it just doesn't feel like it puts out 280 brake. You put your foot down and you're like, oh god, yeah, it is quite nippy. Like, it does put you back in your seat, but I think it's more of a cruiser, like a long haul cruiser, than what it would be like something that you would obviously drive to be fast. It's super smooth. It's like almost like dreamy to drive. Like, I could sit on this in the motorway for hours and hours, and I imagine that's probably what a lot of them did. Probably was like rich businessmen, isn't it, that drove these things around up and down the motorway back in the day, playing Snake in traffic. This thing actually only weighs 1,600 kg, which again I was surprised by. I thought it was going to weigh a lot more than that, considering how much stuff it's actually loaded with, and obviously it's a big heavy BMW and you've got a massive 3.3 litre engine up at the front. But yeah, it does only weigh 1,600 kg, but it feels like it weighs about 4 tons. Like, very heavy, like the steering's really heavy. But obviously that's what you expect from a 24-year-old car, so they're not as high-tech as some of the things nowadays where you can like spin the wheel with your one finger kind of thing. I think the one thing that I love the most about it is it feels very mechanical, like driving it. Like, you've got big heavy steering. Obviously when you're used to driving like newer cars, it's got like, you can tell a difference. The gearbox is like super, like, you've got such a long throw between gears. It like proper like clicks into a gear instead of just, you get into new cars nowadays and it feels like you're trying to shove something into a sponge. But well put together. Well put together. That's the word. It's well put together. Yeah, it also sounds amazing. Like, it just sounds so good. Like, it's got a proper like grunt to it. Obviously it's a big straight six, so you would imagine it to throw out some noise. It's gonna shout and groan at you at some point. But yeah, like, it proper, like, obviously this car is bog standard. This car is exactly how it came out of the factory, and it's like the noise, it just puts a little smile on your face, you know. You're like, oh, here we are, I'm driving a big 3.3 litre engine, when most of the cars nowadays are all going electric. I will say, you do get a lot of looks driving this thing, mostly from older men who are probably thinking, oh, I would love one of them back in the day. That's another thing about this car, is it has a lot of charm. It has a lot of character and it has a lot of charm, because without a doubt this is a classic car now. Like, it's like a modern classic almost. These things are becoming extremely desirable, extremely collectible, and you can 100% see why, because yeah, to most people it's just an old BMW, but to people who care, it's an Alpina BMW. Do you know what I mean? One thing I can't help but notice is there, under the rev counter, there is an MPG like dial. This MPG dial is throwing out lots of numbers to me. So when I put my foot down, let's just put our foot down. It's gone down to 12. But when I just like knock it into 5th and you just like cruising, you know, it's actually on 50, which is obviously not very accurate. But yeah, I think the combined MPG of this, when I looked online, was about 20, 25. It is going to be a lot less than that. And you can tell it's a fuel guzzler, don't get me wrong. I think the fuel dial is one of them where if you put your foot down, you'll actually see it move. in terms of like handling and around corners and stuff, obviously I'm going through like not a lot of roads where I can throw it into a bend, but obviously she's a rear wheel drive. She's a rear wheel drive boy, so I can imagine that if you were to take this round on like some real like country roads or whatever, you could have a lot of fun with this, because it's not turboed as well, it's a naturally aspirated straight six. You've just got like immediate punch, you've got no like turbo lag or anything like that. It's just immediate, like, oh, there it is, do you know what I mean? So you could have a lot of fun with this. I feel like you could really like put this thing through its paces, and it would most probably enjoy it. It's just fun. I just like driving it, you know? Like, oh, I would have just loved to have driven one of these back when they were brand new, like fresh out the showroom, and just, you know, like people looking at you thinking, oh my god, that's an Alpina BMW, and everyone's like, ah! Because even when I see these things now, like obviously you don't see them very often, they're very rare, but like even when I see them now, I think, oh, look at that, it's an Alpina, that's cool. And if a car can make someone say that, I'm all there for it. Sold. I'll have it. I'll take it. Do you know what? It's mine now, so it doesn't matter anyway. I'm joking. I wish. Ah, there's always someone who breaks down and spoils your bloody fun. Let's put the foot down. We've gone down to 10 miles per gallon. No! Oh, God, it sounds mint though. It sounds so good. Like, yeah, it can move. Like, I will give it that, actually. Yeah, it does move. It's even got that typical, like, old school indicator tick. It's like super annoying, but nostalgic. When you get up in the red range, Jesus, this thing moves. As soon as you get above like 3,000, you're flying in this. That's when the power like really comes in. You are flying. But kind of sad now because we're back, which means I've got to go back to driving a boring Volvo home and stuff. But woo, yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. So that wraps up today's thoughts on this amazing BMW Alpina. Here at Vogue, we love buying any type of car. Obviously, you saw last week that we were reviewing an Audi SQ7, and this week we're reviewing a 24-year-old BMW. Just goes to show that we will literally buy anything here, and we know the true value of your cars. Some dealerships would look at this thing and not even give it the time of day, but we love things like this, and we love it. If you guys have got something similar to this that you're looking to sell soon, then definitely get in touch with us, because we will literally consider anything. This is just one example of one of the really cool cars that we've had land here this week that isn't necessarily what you would see at your usual dealership. Tune in next week and we're going to show you something even cooler and even rarer.